Previously on Suit and Tyler.
Now bought out by China.
And that's it. That's the whole recap. You're all caught up now.
Hey, I'm Suit and Tyler, and you're watching Disney Channel.
That's a cat. We'll go again right away.
Whew. Thank you, Disney. I'll take that check now. Whoa. Whoa. Whew. Whew. Who knew selling out could be this rewarding? My money is worth so much, I could buy literally anything. Nothing will happen to this money, ever. Suit and Tyler here. Yeah. Yeah, just one question. What's inflation? Welcome to the 7th annual Tyler's Objectively Unbiased Bestest Things of Best Things 2022
Inflated Edition.
sponsored by anyone. Anyone. Seriously, anyone. Can you please sponsor me? I need your help right. Strange is the only way to describe 2022. It was a year that gave us one of the greatest video games of all time. You know the one. Yes, it's on the tip of your tongue. Say it with me now. Horizon Forbidden West, which lasted about 4 seconds before Elden Ring came out and out greatest game of all time, Horizon. That's strange. Am I spoiling my own Game of the Year list? Well, of course not. Hear me out. What made this year so strange was the lengthy gaming drought we had post Elden Ring. It was an empty period only good for self-reflection, or jumping back into your backlog. But let's be honest, we all just kept replaying Elden Ring. What the gaming drought really did was allow some indie darlings to rise up from the ashes of every other game that wasn't Elden Ring. This was an eye-opening moment for gaming. Until the AAA space came rushing back in with God of War, Pokemon, and Call of Duty again. An unthinkable amount of games came out in December, but this was a year full of unthinkables. PlayStation decided to penny pinch everyone. Xbox tried to convince the world that owning Call of Duty, Zynga, and Blizzard was a completely normal and healthy thing for the industry. And they almost would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for the FTC and their stupid dog. And Grand Theft Auto 6 made a big old pee-pee poo-poo in its pants and leaked out all over the floor. Oops, whoopsie. Dead Island 2 is actually coming out? Platinum Games is further losing their luster? And worst of all, Sega released a pretty decent Sonic game. These are the signs of the end times. God will cast judgment on all of us and call us boy, because it's actually the God of War. You guys remember when Pokemon released the most interesting Pokemon game of all time called Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then a month later announced Scarlet and Violet coming out the same year? I remember that. Gotham Knights was bad, shocking absolutely no one. The gaming industry overworks and underpays its employees, shocking absolutely nobody. If you thought Marvel's multiverse wasn't enough, or Fortnite's multiverse, or Bayonetta 3's multiverse, try Multiverse's multiverse. Wait, the multiverse, that's it, that's the key. It's the way to solve all my financial troubles. I will find a universe where I have money. Again, I had it in this one. I swear to you, I had money in this universe. I swear, I don't know where to put it. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what inflation means, but I know it was there. Luckily, I built a multiverse hopping machine that is powered by reciting one's top 10 video games of 2022. How convenient. With the multiverse, I can literally do anything. Me, another version of me, one where I have an eye patch. Once I have more money to counteract this inflation, I'll be happy again. Or something along those lines. But first we will begin with Suit and Tyler's greatest snub of 2021. You can thank my own negligence. And that game is... Man, I'm still kicking myself for letting it slip by the goalie last year. Metroidvanias are a dime a dozen nowadays, especially in the indie scene. But when done right, they become the purest form of video game crack you can get. Metroid Dread is pure crack. While it ends up becoming one of the more linear Metroidvania experiences, it is expertly crafted in every way and improves upon the tried and true Metroid gameplay to the point where I actually enjoy shooting Samus's blasters for once. It never leaves the player too lost for too long, and injects some much needed AAA flourishes to Metroid's intricate level design. It's hard to be bored when playing this. And that's Metroid Dread. Now on to the real top 10. Right after these honorable mentions. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now go. High on Life. Justin Roiland's foray into gaming continues to prove even more impressive than his work on television. High on Life may not be the best shooter or the funniest comedy game, but it blends the two together to create a continuously amusing experience. The best jokes rely on interactivity to work in ways that wouldn't on television. The jokes that rely on Roiland's rambling nature hit more than they miss. Similar to the shooting, which finds interesting twists on the shooter genre's usual suspects to provide delightful gunplay. Firing the talking weapons isn't always as tight as you'd like them to be due to some unrefined elements. But these foibles can't ruin an otherwise refreshing shooter like this. The world of High on Life is brimming with promising possibilities for an extremely exciting sequel. Exploring the galaxy in Roiland's messed up world will rival whatever Field of Stars Todd Howard can think of. Allegedly.
Bayonetta 3.
There has been no third entry in a trilogy that I've wanted to play more in the past 8 years than Bayonetta 3. And now that I've finally played Bayonetta 3, I am very whelmed. Not overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, just whelmed. It nailed exactly what it needed to nail the most with its endlessly engaging combat. But everything else surrounding it nibbles at its greatness. Story is hot trash, enemies are uninteresting, level design is bland, pacing is problematic, and that other thing is lame too. You know the one. And I clearly know the one I'm talking about too. However, even the worst Bayonetta game is still leaps and bounds above most action games on the market right now. Taking the highs with the lows along this wild ride of a video game is the best way to experience it. Why? Because kaiju monsters are cool. That's why. Tunic. To be honest, I keep forgetting about this game, but every time I do remember it, it fondly warms my heart. Tunic's dedication to its in-game instruction manual gimmick makes it one of the most unique gameplay experiences of 2022. Turning nostalgia into a gameplay mechanic creates a dazzling journey that captures the kind of curiosity I used to have when I was a kid, scanning every corner of the game's manual on the car ride home from the store. The manual provides fun puzzles alongside challenging combat where neither side of the coin ceases to surprise. If you want to play a game that revitalizes exploration like Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild, then look no further. Rollerdrome. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater had many guest characters join its roster, but none could come even close to Max Payne. Rollerdrome mixes Tony Hawk's fluid flips and arcadey tricks with Max Payne's stylish bullet time mechanics to create an endlessly satisfying gameplay loop that constantly rewards headshots and heel flips. Instead of skateboarding, Rollerdrome focuses on rollerblading with an arsenal of guns to compete in murderous death matches for a tournament in the future under an oppressive Orwellian government. Story is light, but just enough is told to entertain without interfering. Mashing these two games together makes one of the most exhilarating gameplay experiences I've had all year. One that balances challenge and catharsis masterfully. It's the kind of combo that Tony Hawk could only dream of pulling off. Rollerdrome is the 1800 to Tony Hawk's 900. Pentiment. Obsidian is a game studio that is easily overlooked, and yet never fails when it comes to making lively RPGs with genuinely tough decisions based around riveting moral quarrels. Pentiment is no exception. Pentiment uses Disco Elysium's murder mystery framework as a jumping off point to paint its own path. Themes of historical negationism permeate every piece of Pentiment, from the presentation to the dialogue to the gameplay. It's a story full of surprises that keeps players on the edge of their seat. The amount of love these writers poured into the narrative is equal to their love of history. By the end of Pentiment, it would be hard to find a single player who didn't fall in love with this little 16th century town that the entire game takes place in. The only unsurprising part of Pentiment is its phenomenal writing, since it comes from one of the creative directors behind Fallout New Vegas. If that doesn't sell you on this game, I don't know what will. Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Kirby has made the full 3D platformer treatment for the first time, and now everybody's acting like Kirby just got good. Newsflash, Kirby has always been good. The Forgotten Land continues Kirby's path of pure dominance over the gaming industry by elevating the joyous simplicity of this 2D platformer into a 3D world. Where many games provide challenge, Kirby provides unfiltered fun from start to finish. This is the franchise's secret weapon. Nothing gets in your way from having a good time. And all the new mouthful mode abilities create special ways to solve problems with a smile. While the abilities Kirby sucks up from enemies got neutered during the 3D transition, the gameplay gets refreshed in every other way. This is truly a game anybody can play and enjoy. Elden Ring. Oh boy, I'm probably gonna get some people mad. I have a love-hate relationship with Elden Ring. Souls games are some of my favorite games of all time, and Elden Ring expands upon Dark Souls' formula to bring it into an open world. The hands-off approach to exploration is absolutely superb because there's always something magnificent beyond the horizon. However, I don't think the Dark Souls experience benefits from an open world. The tight, methodical level design of previous games takes a hit. And now the pacing relies far too heavily on the player's power level to work. In previous Souls games, it was rare that I felt too underleveled to fight a boss. I knew I had to improve my skills. Elden Ring made me feel like I was losing to bosses because of my level, not because of my skill. So I had no choice but to leave somewhere else and come back later. By inflating the experience, it also leads to bosses, enemies, and environments repeating themselves, which kills my curiosity. That being said, Elden Ring has some of the best bosses FromSoft has ever made.
But the experience as a whole is lesser than the sum of its parts.
Sekiro and Bloodborne were tailoring their experience towards a singular playstyle, which meant everything was designed around testing that playstyle to its limits. Elden Ring went the complete opposite direction, making it more RPG and less focused than anything they've ever made before. I love it and I hate it for that.
God of War Ragnarok.
For as good as God of War 2018 was, it didn't leave much of an impression on me. I understand all the perfect review scores it got, I just didn't agree with it. Ragnarok helped me see the light. The finale to Kratos' Norse adventures started out as more of the same, but it quickly grew into a sequel that far surpasses the original. From the many improvements to combat to the deeper characters and rich performances. Kratos supplants himself on top of gaming's Mount Rushmore thanks to the ways Ragnarok delicately explores his flaws as much as they do his strengths. Each weapon he swings feels chunky and satisfying. And just when you think you might get bored of the gameplay tools at hand, new elements get thrown into the mix. Ragnarok is considerably bigger and longer than the previous game, but it never feels its length, thanks to impressive pacing and constant variety of engagement. Ragnarok's story has a wanderlust and isn't as focused as the last game's simpler story structure. And yet, it never gets too aimless or loses the audience's attention. It's the once upon a time in Hollywood of video games.
Neon White.
Mirror's Edge ran so Neon White could run as well, but just a little bit faster. First-person platforming isn't easy to master, but Neon White's breakneck speed makes it look effortless. Each bite-sized level is packed with high-octane depth in its challenging time trial-based platforming. It balances precision shooting and dynamic traversal without either sides of the coin getting in each other's way. The art design maximizes style and function. The music is badass. And the writing is, the most anime thing I've ever seen. And these aren't Japanese developers. The story is an acquired taste, but over time, the cringiness actually kept me engaged. Luckily, the gameplay is so good that you could skip every cutscene if you want and probably have a better experience anyway. Sifu. I know, I can't believe it either. A fighting game made it to my #1 spot? That's what you'd say if Sifu was actually a fighting game. But it's not. Stupid Game Awards. It's a game about fighting your way through 5 levels of increasingly difficult Kung Fu masters to get your revenge on the man who killed your father. Sifu is a game all about mastering Kung Fu, where each time you die, you get older and older until you can't fight any longer and have to restart the level. It encourages players to not only beat the game, but to beat it at the youngest age possible to prove their mastery of the combat system. Dedicating yourself to Sifu's combat system is just as, if not more rewarding than any Souls game. This is a designer's wet dream. Whether it's art design, combat design, or level design, it blends together pieces from other games, like Sekiro's parry system and Arkham Asylum's rhythmic fisticuffs, with its own unique roguelike mechanics
to create something undeniably noteworthy.
Sifu allows players to become Jackie Chan, which easily earns itself Game of the Year. Don't you understand? Hey, that rhymed. Someone should make a rap about that. Thank you for listening to my top 10 games of 2022, and I can't wait to come back next year, assuming I can still afford to breathe. Looks like the multiverse is ready for me now. There's only one thing left to say. Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye. 'Cause now it's time to go. Bye now.
Death can have me when it earns me.